The events of the Bite of 87 date back over 10 years for fans. The solution to this mystery from the first game remains elusive to the community. As the same time was the events of the missing children's incident, an event that could have been connected to the Bite. After some further thought, I think that the two events could be connected, and here is my video about the topic. Newspaper articles from the first game wrote, 2 local children were reportedly lured into the back room during the late hours of operations at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza on the night of June 26. The children themselves were never found. Another article updates this to 5 children, thereby separating the events across multiple nights, therefore being portrayed differently to the events of 1985, involving 6 children in one room. The MCI would lead to the local sheriff department and Deputy Burke focus their attention on William Afton. William's involvement would be known to those of the community, although without locating the children could not be ultimately held. If not for the Bite of 87, the Aftons could have continued rounding up their victims for their plans. This video is looking at the different point of view surrounding those events. While looking over the FNAF 3 arcade games and looking for more information about 1987, I came across an image from Mangle's Quest that made me pause. The puppet's character, who was crying quite a lot, was shown disproportionately larger than the Mangle character. This got me thinking, and I realised I'd seen that before. In the arcade game Fruity Maze, we get a picture of Susie playing the character. That made me wonder whether Mangle's Quest was from the point of view of the arcade game. More importantly, from a soul haunting the machine. So if Mangle's Quest could represent a soul in the machine, then puppet crying is happening outside the machine in the same room. Charlotte within the puppet is distraught over something connected to the arcade cabinets that she could either see or feel. And then I wondered if she was aware of the souls trapped in the arcade cabinets. What if the puppet had delivered the mask 2 years prior in 1985 to give the souls some freedom to move around? While in control of the animatronic characters, they could defend themselves against the Aftons. But in the case of the arcade cabinets, she could not. That could explain Charlotte's crying, as those victims were defenseless. For the best example of the children in the 1987, they are sitting at the table within the Happiest Day minigame. These 5 children have not been named, except perhaps the one wearing the green alligator mask. This is likely the one who would go on to appear in the Fazbear Fright story, The Man in Room 1280. The available information appears to connect the months leading up to the restaurant's closure by the end of 1987. During the Silver Eyes, we are told by Sheriff Burke that William Afton couldn't be held for the crimes. He was therefore likely to return to the restaurant. It had been 4 years since Charlotte had died outside the diner, an act that resulted in the closure of the business in 1983. By 1985, the events of Into the Pit resulted in 6 children being rounded up in the party room beside Foxy's Cove. As Cassidy, I suspect, went missing from the 6, the police focused their investigation on local suspects likely to have been involved in such a crime, drawing attention away from the restaurant itself. See my previous video about the 6 children of 1985 for more of an explanation on this. Now, in 1987, the Aftons had figured out that the disappearance of their victims was a more effective strategy than having their bodies discovered. Also, the souls finding their way into the animatronics would work against the Aftons, as these metal machines would hurt William if the spirits knew what he had done to them. The next step would be to ensure that the next group of souls couldn't harm them. Therefore, I think the arcade machines were used. From the 3rd FNAF game, we play a variety of arcades, each one hinting at a child who had likely died. They were separated from the other children, lost and crying. They are giving us information that they have seen, but it wasn't much to go on. In Mangle's Quest, I want to focus on the large puppet seen in the background. This very unusual image makes sense if the spirit within the arcade machine is seeing this happen. Puppet is reacting to what the Aftons had done to the children. Puppet's reaction is telling, as Puppet had previously been seen as creepy by the phone guy. A non-communicating animatronic isn't much help when asking for help from the guards, but help could come from another spirit. If Puppet couldn't stop the Aftons from singling out the children who attended the restaurant, then perhaps the restaurant would need to close. When William could gain access to the restaurant again, the children wouldn't be safe. Puppet and the Vengeful Spirit have similar motives. The Vengeful Spirit has a clear nature of protecting the children, focusing his punishment on the adults. This made me think that the Bite of 87 could be the result of Puppet. If the public could see the animatronics as dangerous as well as the Aftons, then the children wouldn't be brought to the restaurant anymore. No children would be harmed again if an adult would be targeted by an animatronic. As I suspect the toy animatronics were being controlled by either the Vengeful Spirit or Spring Bonnie, then those are the ones likely to be used. Non-haunted animatronics are expendable over those with spirits. I've been trying to figure out the bite of 87 from the motivations of the animatronics. I had previously thought that Withered Chica had motivation, as Susie's sister Samantha could have visited. The sisters share a bond, and Samantha's life in trouble would have been felt by Susie. I'd never considered an animatronic puppeted by another until now. I now suspect the motivation to close the restaurant was that of the puppet. The one used to take the bite could therefore be the Mangle, the community favourite. I had been resistant to name him as he had no motivation to do so, but Puppet has that motivation. The guard Jeremy staying close to the animatronics for that last birthday party made him the victim. His public injuries in front of the partygoers would lead to the closure of the restaurant. No more children would be coming, meant no more victims at the restaurant. Therefore, the fate of the bite of 87 was perhaps for good motives. Now alone, the spirits couldn't play with any new children. This is the consequence of keeping the others safe. When Mike Schmidt brought his sister Abby during the night shift, there was another child to play with. The Vengeful Spirit would draw the two in and try and barter for Abby's spirit. The puppet would continue to see victims of the restaurant, but for now would have to live with this being the lesser of two evils.